Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about some college baseball, and we're in the second week of it, and most teams are getting into their 7th, 8th, 9th games, so we're taking a look at the top 25 and breaking down this past week's games. A lot of teams played 4 games, and let's see how they fared out. Starting with the number 1 team in the country, UCLA. They have their number 1 projected draft pick on their team. They started off their week beating Tulane, and then they dismantled TCU, who I was very high on this season. I thought TCU was going to be a lot better. Turns out they might not be. They dismantled them pretty well, and you'll see the pictures on the screen. They handled them pretty well. And TCU, I still think they can turn it around. Maybe they're not as good as I thought they were, but I still think they could turn it around. So those are some big wins for UCLA. And moving forward, another powerhouse, LSU. They took down Nicholls, Indiana, Notre Dame, and UCF this week. They handled business like usual, looking like another dominant season ahead for them. Moving into the number 3 team in the country, Texas. They beat Lamar early in the midweek, and then they went 3-0 versus Michigan State, who was coming off of a 2-1 weekend against Louisville last week. So Michigan State going 3-0 against them. Those are 3 big wins. They beat Louisville, and I don't think Louisville and Michigan State are terrible by any means. I think Texas is just really good, and I think those 3 wins against Michigan State are going to mean a lot down the road. Moving into the 4th slot, we have Mississippi State. The new coach era, Brian O'Connor, is there now. He's taken over. He is out to a strong start, starting 8-0 this season, and this past week they beat Alcorn State and then 3-0 versus Delaware. So handled business as usual. No surprises there. And then we moved to Georgia Tech, where they went 4-0 versus Stony Brook, and Drew Burress is a hell of a player. He's going to be taken very early in the upcoming drafts for the MLB. So he's a guy that you got to look out for. Moving into the 6th spot, we have Arkansas. They handled business per usual, another powerhouse that we see here year in and year out. They beat Tarleton, and then they went 3-0 versus Xavier. So handled business as normal, nothing unusual going on. And then the 7th spot, we have Auburn, who early in the week, they lost to a pretty good Cincinnati team. They got pretty much dominated. I think they lost 8-0 against Cincinnati. And then they turned it around for the weekend, beating Kansas State, Florida State, and then Louisville. So those are 3 big wins, especially after losing to Cincinnati, bouncing back. That shows that, they got some fight in them. And I think Auburn is going to be really good this season, like they are 6-1 right now. And that loss to Cincinnati is a good loss to have, because I think Cincinnati will be a very good team. So number 8, we have 6-1-1 UNC. They beat Longwood, and then they ended up going 1-1 against ECU, with the game on Sunday ending in a tie, 3-3 against them. So a little oddball there, but not a horrible week, not the week that the UNC team wants. They expect high things coming out of that program. Year in and year out, they're always really good. So they expect a little bit better than a 1-1 versus ECU. And then moving into the 9th spot, we got Coastal Carolina. Last week, they were 2-2 on the week. They went 2-0 versus VCU, 0-1 to Illinois, and they had a cancellation game. So again, they have 2 losses now, but they didn't have their 3 best arms available in the pitching staff. So it's a little unbelievable to me that, I don't think they're a bad team at all. I just think, they were missing some of their arms. Hopefully they come back and, they get right back into the way they should be, one of the top teams in the nation. Coming in at number 10, we have Florida, who is 7-1. They beat Stetson pretty easily, and then 3-0 versus Kennesaw State. Handled business as normal. That program down there has been good for years. Nothing new there. And number 11, we saw Georgia with a 6-1 record. They beat USC Upstate and then handled business 3-0 versus Samford. A lot of SEC through this whole entire top 25. Pretty much the whole top 25 is dominated by SEC and ACC, so that's what you're going to see. Number 12 is a very good ball club, Southern Miss, who is 6-1. They beat Southeastern Louisiana this week in the midweek, and then they beat Purdue, Oregon State, who's a very good team, and Baylor. Those are an amazing week for Southern Miss. I would not be surprised if they keep this rolling. And, they're a very good mid-major program, just like Coastal Carolina. They got a lot of hopes and dreams for this season, and I don't expect them to slow down anytime soon. Coming in at number 13, another red-hot team, 7-0, Oklahoma. They beat New Mexico State, and then they handled business 3-0 versus Coppin State. So, nothing like last weekend where they went 3-0 versus some powerhouses, but they still got business done even against the smaller mid-major schools. And number 14, 15, and 16, or 14, 15, 16, and 17, those are all some ACC teams here. It's kind of like a group of four. We got 14, we got NC State at 5-1. They beat Winthrop one game, and then they went 2-1 versus Princeton. So, not the 3-0 that they wanted, but 2-1 still a series win for them. Princeton, I believe, is actually a pretty good team. So be on the lookout for some NC State. I think they are going to be pretty good, though. Clemson, coming in at 15, they're 7-0. They're always, year in and year out, just like a lot of these teams. Top tier program. Clemson, they beat Charlotte, and then they went 3-0 versus Bryant. So no upsets for them this week. In number 16, we got Wake Forest. They beat High Point, and then 3-0 versus Siena. And then Miami, down in Florida, they went 4-0 versus Lafayette. All four of those schools are pretty good, and the ACC's got some dogs too, just like the SEC. So we'll be excited to get into some SEC and ACC play when conference play starts coming up here soon, in probably a month, maybe it'll start, maybe sooner than that. At number 18, we got TCU. They're 2-5 on the season. They were top 10. They dropped a lot. Coming off of a 2-1, weekend last weekend against some good teams. They went 0-4 this week, losing to UT Arlington, and then getting swept, like I said earlier, at UCLA, which, again, they're a great ball club, UCLA, but can't go and get swept. And I think they were absolutely dominated all three games, so not a good look for TCU. I wouldn't be surprised, if they win, if they go 4-0 this week, I wouldn't be surprised if, they may still drop them just because they have 5 losses right now. I didn't even think they'd be in the top 25 this week, to be honest with you. Division I baseball is Oregon State, who's 4-3. They started off last weekend big time, and then this week they ended up going 2-2 with a win against Michigan and Baylor, and then they lost to Southern Miss and Purdue. So Southern Miss, like I said earlier, is a great team. Oregon State's a great team. Both of these teams are, really good. I think Oregon State with some good wins over Michigan and Baylor there. Purdue is kind of a stinker, but that's okay. And moving forward, we got Tennessee. New coaching and new program down there at Tennessee did lead to a losing series this week. They beat UNC Asheville, and then they went 1-2 versus Kent State. Kent State is in the MAC. They are apparently really good this year. I did not expect them to go down to Tennessee and handle business like that and come away with the series win. Tennessee got to get back to the drawing board a little bit. And then number 21 is Florida State. They beat Jacksonville and Michigan, and then ended up losing to Auburn and Nebraska this week. Auburn's a good school. Not what FSU wants though. They're one of the cream of the crop programs. They expect to go at least 3-1, 4-0 for these week in, week out games. Kentucky, they're number 22 at 5-2. They lost to Morehead State earlier this week, so that was a big upset. and then they went 2-1 versus Evansville. Evansville was good a few years ago, so I don't believe they fell off too much. But Kentucky did lose their All-American shortstop Tyler Bell due to injury, so that's a name to be on the lookout and see if he's coming back at all, or if he isn't. We'll have to take a look and see about that. Texas A&M, they're 7-0. I think they have one of the best lineups in the country. They went to Texas, or they played Texas A&M, Corpus Christi, handled business with them, and then 3-0 versus Penn. Nothing new for them. 24, we have 5-1 WVU. They beat Georgia Southern, and then they went to Liberty University down in Virginia, and they went 2-1 versus them. So a little bit of a series win, but Liberty took one from them. And coming in at number 25, we got Ole Miss, 8-0. First week on the top 25. They beat Jackson State and then went 3-0 versus a pretty dangerous Missouri State. And if you want to go back and rewatch any of these games, I recommend going on YouTube and searching up Wheels. That page, it gets me through, a lot of these teams, watching a lot of baseball throughout the season. They post a lot of videos, just highlights of every game. So I wouldn't recommend them anymore. They are great over there. But that is the weekly roundup of the top 25 for Division I baseball. If you guys have any comments or questions, I'll be happy to talk about them in the comments. Go ahead and like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.